Neon Entertainment Spotlight.
We're joined by Kristen Becker, and we're on the Neon Spotlight.
Yay!
Isn't that neat? We came up with that all on our own.
I like it.
Yeah, it's pretty catchy, right?
I like it. I've never seen a spotlight in neon before.
No.
Is it as effective as a normal, LED spotlight, or how does neon spotlights work?
That's a pretty good question. I've never been asked that before.
Seems like a lighting thing.
Yeah,
I don't know, right?
guess. I mean, and I know a few things about lights,
Right.
but, I just basically, if it all looks good, then I'm just going to trust that it's the right kind of light, neon, LED,
Right, yeah.
incandescent.
Well, I'm thankful
Who
to
knows?
be able to step into the neon
The Neon Spotlight.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's new in your world?
Loosen the Bible Belt, I think, the tour that we're doing right now. Do you know anything? You don't know anything about
Well, Jeremy was filling me in on some of it, so that's pretty cool. Tell us more.
So I partnered up with a pastor, a Christian pastor, Jay Becker, whose parents were Jim and Tammy Faye Baker, which if you're a little bit older, you kind of know that they were Christian royalty in the late 80s, and then many scandals. They were like before the OJ trial. Like it was like the first televised like crazy People magazine headline, whatever. And his mom, Tammy Faye Baker, was a huge kind of gay icon, and he's a Christian pastor who is pro queers and pro gay and pro LGBT, and so he and I partnered up, and we started going through the Deep South, and I tell dirty lesbian jokes. And he preaches the love of Jesus Christ. And so
Fair enough.
Yeah. It's really just about just a unifying message right now, right? Like everything is so divisive, and we're just trying to hey, everybody, chill out. Religion's not going anywhere. Queers aren't going anywhere. So let's all get into a room and laugh a little bit and have some feelings and show that we can exist in the same space and just try to lighten it up a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I think so much of what's happening right now, not necessarily just politically, just in the media, there's so much nasty turmoil. That's
stoking the fire,
Right,
constantly just trying to throw more bees into whatever that bee's nest cliche is.
Sure, yeah.
Right? And so it really is, it's as simple as I didn't know this guy, right? I'm a lesbian comedian who doesn't really Jesus. I mean, I was raised Catholic, but I'm not. I'm an atheist, and he's this Christian pastor, and we were like, okay, and we didn't know each other, so let's get into a van, and we got in a van together for 3 weeks, and just went through the Deep South, and that was a couple years ago, and it slowly kind of. We were a bit ahead of our time, right? So now 3 years later, here we are, and the world is like this, and we're like, okay, we're ready. And so we're bringing that to colleges too. We just added it to the Neon roster.
Oh, cool.
And so Jay and I just doing speaking and just kind of talking about how if we really want to, we can be different and still get along.
Right, that's what I was going to ask you. It's that sounds like that'll go over, and there is a total pun intended, like a fart in church.
Right. Exactly. Yeah,
how did that initially?
So when the first year I tried to book it, we were in the Deep South, and the churches were like, no, thank you, and the queer bars were like, what do you mean? No, you're not coming in to tell us how bad we are. And it just kind of took a minute. Jay kind of qualifies me amongst the Christian people. He's like, hey, this is my lesbian friend, and she's a good one. And then I go, hey, this is my pastor friend, and he's a good one, right? And so then we try to trick everybody to get into the room, and it took a minute, honestly. People weren't really sure what we were doing. And to be frank, we weren't sure what we were doing. I had done a tour called, long story short, I wrote a blog about why I thought, I was raised in Louisiana, why I thought Louisiana should be at the forefront of diversity in the South, right? You've got New Orleans, they speak 2 languages. Louisiana's always had French as an official language, and in the South, it's always speak English. And I'm like, no, look at Louisiana and look at how there's this cultural diversity, and it should be at the forefront. And after I wrote that was in 2013, the Louisiana Democratic Party called me, and they were like, hey, we're putting a non-discrimination act up against in front of the Louisiana State Senate Commission. Will you come testify? And I went down to testify, and everybody that I talked to was using the Bible as their argument for why. And I can't fucking argue. I can't argue Bible, right? So I realized in me, I was like, oh, I need a straight white Christian guy to justify my existence as I snot all over your stuff. Right? Like, sorry, I'm sick.
No, I
But,
mean,
like,
I try to get that out of the way early in most of my podcasts. I'm like, can you please just blow
snot right on it?
all
Yeah, okay,
on
so,
it? Yeah.
all right, good, I got
So
it. You guys
early
have
the
some spray.
Yeah, early
So-
the better, yeah.
So basically, we just started it, and I tweeted at Jay and I said, listen, can you come argue, thank you, can you come argue Bible for me?
Yeah.
Because I didn't know, all I can say is to people is, I know I'm okay, because I'm me and I'm
Right.
okay. And then they go, but this book says, and then Jay comes through and he's like, yeah, but the way you're interpreting that book is wrong.
No, that's pretty
And
cool.
so
Because I wouldn't know where to start.
Exactly.
Like, to defend, you know?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
so that was kind of what started the Loosen the Bible Bell thing. And
Yeah.
so we just got into a van and started going around, and we don't ask each other to tone each other. We don't tone down, right? Like, he gets to be as Jesus-y as he wants to, and I get to be as gay as I want to, and that's the point.
Right.
The point is that there's room for everyone to be themselves without anyone else feeling like they have to give up anything, right?
Now, with that being said, do you run into like butting heads at all?
He and I?
Between each other? Yeah.
No, because we really are in this, like, it's weird, like, we're in this state of, like, just leading with unconditional love, and it has to start within us, right? So, like, we are very opposite, so that helps. Like, Jay is very passive, and I'm obviously not. And so, like, we had to learn, like, I had to learn how to deal with him, and he had to learn how to deal with me, but we were always committed to doing that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, like, when we have to have hard talks about money or whatever, like, the first tour we did, we were talking about, just the finances of it. And I literally, like, laid down on a bed to, like, have the discussion with him because he's so timid. And so, like, and I didn't want it to get worked up, right? But, yeah, no, it's been really great. Like, I think we're both, we believe in what we're doing a lot, and we believe that it's necessary right now in the world to just, and it doesn't, it's brand new, and it didn't make $1 gazillion the first couple times we did it, but we're finding our audience, and what it's becoming is a movement for moderates. Like, and throughout the South and in the rural, all over the country, rural places in the Northeast have just as many problems with oppressive religion. And we're also finding that it's not just for gay folks. Like, I originally started it as, I have friends in the South who are Christian and gay, and they get told that they're awful. And then they get told to go to another church. But you can't be an evangelical Christian and then go to the UU. Like, it's not the same. You can't jump religions like that and still have it feel like it's at home. It's your home. And then by the second tour, we were getting people who were not queer coming to the shows. I had a couple, they were Baptist fundamentalists, and they were now atheists, straight couple. But they wouldn't tell their family that they were now atheists because their family would disown them. And so then I got to realize, this is way bigger than this is overall extreme Christian religion being oppressive throughout the U.S. And then I realized that, like, a large percentage of our military comes from the southern U.S., right? And what do? We take our sons and daughters, we ship them to the Middle East, which has been destabilized by extreme religion to the point that people feel the need that they need to carry weapons on their shoulders, right? And then I go to Vidor, Texas, and I see an area that's been destabilized by extreme Christian religion, so much to the point that everyone wants to have a gun on their hip. Right? And it's like, it was so obvious to me that we're quickly, and then if you look at what's happening now politically with religious freedom and all those things, like, it's so obvious that our country is heading in a terrifying direction. And that none of it's going away. So how do we start to hold space for those discussions that have to be had if we're going to move forward at all? Like, religion, it's not going away. It's not like, obviously, if diddling kids for 40 years didn't destroy a church, nothing's going to destroy a church. Right? So how do the sane people take control of their faith again? And that's really what Jay's trying to do, is kind of lead that, and I'm trying to kind of help the queers navigate that, and that's what it is. It's a movement for the moderate people, because the reality is that sane people don't get up at 9 a.m. and make posters and go stand outside of an abortion clinic, right? And those are the people who've been just hanging out at home, and we're like, hey guys, hate to do this to you, know you're just living your life, but you got to get up and do something right now, because the crazies are taking over at a record pace. And when I say crazies, I don't mean people who are religious. I mean people who are fanatical, who want to take the Bible literally, and yeah.
No, and you know, it's interesting. You know, so you don't know, my mother.
I know your mother.
She
I'm sorry. It was too easy, buddy.
So let's just go ahead and get the mama jokes out of the way right with this.
Are we allowed to do those anymore? I'm going to stand on the mic and I'm going to talk about your mom.
So
are we allowed? Are your mama jokes going to go the way of feminism? Yesterday I was like, I think that's the end of That's What She Said, right? Like R.I.P. That's what she said, because that's like I don't know.
I missed the note. I mean, we can't say.
I mean, I don't know if you've seen The Rise of the Woman, but like I feel like That's What She Said is going to be is gone. Like that we can never she said.
Is that?
I never said that.
Is that?
Excuse me.
Is that why Stephen Corbell? What's his name? Stephen. Michael Scott from The Office. That was his thing. Carell. So yeah, is that why he ended up getting written off The Office? Because he had too many of those jokes. Yeah.
Right, anyway, sorry, about your mom. Let's go back to your mom.
Let's go back to talking about my mom.
Okay.
Because there's nothing more interesting than that. She was she remarried, but didn't want to get, because in the Catholic Church, did not want to get an annulment because she had 2 kids. You know, it felt like if I just legally proclaim that I made a mistake, and now what do I say about these 2 people I brought?
If she got annulled, would you be a bastard?
I don't know.
Is that how that works? Like I don't know anything about it.
I think something like that.
Yeah.
And so she didn't. And then she actually went to, her regular church. She had to get married in another church that wasn't, Catholicism.
Right.
She had to go back, go to some, I don't know what other, Episcopalian or something like that.
Right.
And she was called out by the priest. The priest was giving communion and said, if I see you in this church again trying to receive communion, I will publicly embarrass you.
Ooh, Christian forgiveness at its best.
Right? So now she's like, okay, do I find like a lenient Catholic church to go to? Because she still, wants to believe in something and go to church. It makes her feel good. It's her thing. Me, not so much. I just kind of find that there's too much hypocrisy in it.
Yeah.
And now where I'm going with this is that because you have this stage now with, kind of yin and yang, right?
Yeah.
How do you find like people are taking to that? Are they? Is it opening their eyes? Are you pissing more people off than you're enticing? Like, how, you know what I mean?
Both.
What have you seen? Yeah,
like,
okay.
there's definitely, so we're getting a solid mix. I mean, what happened in the last year? Jay's father has his own show still, the Jim Becker Show.
It rings a bell.
And it's out of Branson, Missouri.
Okay.
It's fire and brimstone.
Yeah.
Like $70 survivalist pancake mix.
Now, his parents together?
His mother has passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They were split up.
Uh-huh.
His father's remarried to another blonde and has 5 kids. And
Okay.
what I noticed this last time is a lot of people are giving Jay a hard time. Like I had an atheist guy in Mobile, Alabama, from the audience heckle Jay and say, when are you going to tell your father to shut up? And I was like, we'll have this discussion after the show. And we did, and afterwards. And this guy was like, he was the spitting image of everything you would have expected a southern Mobile, Alabama golf pro to look like, right? Like he had on the sweater vest and the khakis and perfect silver hair, but
and
pale, exactly, the lines, everything.
And like a glass of black velvet.
Right, exactly. But here's the thing. He was a hardcore atheist, this guy. He was Canadian. He reunited with a girl from 20 years ago, ended up moving to Mobile, had just survived cancer from socialist medicine in Canada, and was now in Mobile, and came to this show to yell at Jay about what Jay wasn't doing. And so afterwards I said, hey, first of all, this is Jay's dad you're talking about, and he just had 2 kids. Now, Jay's wife is an atheist, okay? So, like, they are into everyone being themselves and exploring whatever they need to explore. Yeah. But Jay was like, listen, do you ever tell your dad to shut up? Like, is that going to be fun at Thanksgiving? Like, I'm doing this, and this is me walking the walk of the talk that I'm talking. And what my father's doing is outside of this. And then I came in, and I was like, and also, sir, that looks exactly like the people in Mobile, Alabama, who has wildly different views. What are you doing?
Right.
Like, what are you doing with your power of just appearance, of looking like them? and not saying anything. And he said, "Oh well, you lose my job." And I was like, "Get out of here!"
Yeah, right.
He's like, "Oh, they would never. I work at a golf pro shop in Mississippi. I couldn't talk about my socialist views." And I was like, "Then how dare you?
Right.
Come here and you just projected all of your guilt and the fact that you can't do anything because you're terrified." I was like, "But we need you.
Yeah.
We need the people like you who people down there can identify with. Someone who looks like them saying something that is challenging to them versus someone who looks like me coming in and saying something that is challenging to them. Like, if you really care and you really want to move things forward, then you have to grab yourself by your ovaries or whatever strong thing you want to grab yourself by and make it happen, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, so, there's that side of, the conversation that's very important, obviously. But you also, you're a comedian and you have, obviously more levity to some of what you do, correct?
And that's the thing is, like, everything, I just do stand-up. Like, I don't even really talk about religion so much. Like, the show is kind of a variety show in and of itself. Like, when it's just Jay and I do my stand-up and he does his thing. When we go down through the Deep South, we have a ukulele player and we have another comedian. And it's really just about getting people into a room and having differing viewpoints and ideas on the same stage and everyone navigating it together, and at the end you've survived. And now we've all shared that experience of these mixed emotions,
Yeah.
I definitely just tell dirty jokes mostly. Don't let this fool you. It's mostly all dirty jokes.
So what, do you prefer, what kind of crowds do you like? Because as we were talking before, I mentioned that in podcast land, I started gravitating towards like a circle that is more on the West Coast. The Comedy Store in L.A., like Chris D'Elia, Joe Rogan, Brendan Schaub, like some of those. And then they visit each other's podcasts and things like that. Do you have like a clique that you perform with, because, in your, what you call home base?
So I'm of the Stanhope family.
Stanhope.
Yeah, Doug has always, I produced him years ago, and like I like those guys a lot. Like Doug and Mishka and JT Habersack, Christine Levine, like that's my posse of people that I love and relate to, and that I feel we have similar veins. As far as audience goes, like what I've been doing in stand-up was Dykes of Hazzard and like that kind of stuff, and then so this Loosen the Bible Belt thing is so new to me, and I love it. I mean, it's really challenging to follow someone who is just preaching, right? Like, you have to really, it's made me a better performer.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'll take any audience, frankly. Like, I'll take anybody that shows up, and I'm confident that we can give them a good time, and we can make them think.
Yeah.
And that's what entertainment should be, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, do you prefer that challenge? Other than, like, would you like consider like a layup? Like, is there a layup kind of crowd for you?
Yeah, give me a queer club.
Yeah.
Where your GSA got $2,000 that they want. Yeah, give me those people. I can talk to those people. I was those people. Thank you. I can do that. I obviously I love, who doesn't love talking to their people? Right. I mean, we all have our little tribes, and so like there's a relatability and a familiarity that like if it's a college GSA or like whatever it is, like that's the easiest, and the most fun because you can make little off the cuff comments that like maybe only the queers are gonna get, and that's cool. That's a fun little thing. So I guess if I had to have a favorite, I love doing that. But I also don't only want to do that. Right. Like I like being palatable enough for mainstream. Like I like being funny because that's the future, right? Like we can't always just be in our own little groups doing our things, and here's the queer people and here's the people of color and here's the we have to be able to cross over.
Gotta test your limits a little bit.
Yeah, and just I don't know, I feel like if you're really good at what you do, you should be able to transcend all of that, right? And so I've been doing this 17 years, and so I'm at the point now where I just played a club in Pantego, Texas. And there was a moment where I wasn't sure how that was good. Like, even when I booked it, it's like, oh, I don't really, are they ready for a lesbian? And then I got there, and it was me and two African-American guys, and I was the headliner, and in Pantego, Texas, at a brewery. That was terrifying. but everybody had a great time, and that was like, oh right, it's the media, right? Like when you get into these rooms, these people are living together and having fun and having a great time, and then the media is making sure that we all hate each other and want to buy guns.
Well, do you stay away from some of that because it's kind of so toxic right now, or you just dive right in?
Stay away from
like some of the politics and things.
I'm not into the day-to-day of like, I'm probably not going to be like, did you see what Kavanaugh said?
Right.
But I am going to be like, can we talk about some dumb things we do with gender, guys? You know, like I'm kind of more of a bigger, I can't get caught up in the day-to-day because it's so obviously intended to manipulate us right now that like I can't give it energy. Like it's so obviously produced.
No, yeah. When I got into like business and things like that, I stuck to my like bartending kind of rules of like just stay away from politics and religion.
Sure, yeah.
Just because you can so easily offend somebody, and then it turns into like the guy that you were talking about. It's unfortunate. Yeah. But I sometimes.
But
have
we
to
hugged
toe
at the
that
end.
line.
Like but that is like the mission Jay and I set out on, right? Like we sat there and went through it with this guy, back and forth, and it would get a little heated, and then we'd all take it back, and because we knew that like this is the point. The point is sharing these experiences, having these energy exchanges, and demonstrating a different way out of it other than block. Right? Like, is there a different way other than I can't have you in my space at all?
Right.
And so I think that's been a good help for us, is just keeping that mindset of like, we can just talk about it and we don't have to, But they've got us so stoked to be afraid right now. Like everybody's so wound tight that it's a powder keg. Yeah. And so like the wrong spark and everybody explodes. And we're just trying to be like, no, actually, we can actually just kind of talk about it. Right. And maybe there's a slow burn, but like no one's got to blow their top.
Do you think that, because
as someone who's known for blowing their top, it's been a learning curve, but it's maybe better.
Well, and then like I think when this new administration came to be, everyone was
is
like,
that what we're calling it? Administration,
right? Everybody, it was like I was like, well, now writers have got a much easier job because there's constantly a punchline all the time.
Not only is there constantly a punchline, but there's a sense of urgency to really elevate your voice. And that's really what... I was just at a comedy festival in Austin, the Altercation Comedy Festival, and it's a lot of DIY guys. Posehn and Pepitone were headliners, and everybody there, all of the jokes were more challenging, and everyone is stepping it up. Like, it's almost like a Call of Duty right now, where like you have to... If you have anything to say that can be helpful, you have to say it, and you have to say it as often as you can, and you have to try to counter the onslaught of divisiveness and hatred and just stupidity that's being just shoved down our throats regularly.
Yeah. Well, that's a good thing. And so what kind of sense of obligation do you feel like you have as like with your you're out there, people pay attention to what you say. Do you is that...
I felt obligated enough to tweet a stranger that was a Christian pastor and rent a van and have him get in it and produce it. Like, I felt that obligated.
Well, there you go.
I could have very easily just continued doing Kristen Becker jokes and booking it and not managing 4 people and tour producing and like headlining, and it's a ton of work.
Do you enjoy that?
I do.
Yeah.
I'm getting to where perfect. Okay, this is great. What you're talking about as far as like the point of where I am now is I'm glad I did it a couple years ago, because now is the point when as a creative and as a writer I want to be elevating my voice, and I wouldn't have had time to assemble this tour. So like it's working out kind of great actually. It's the base is there, the skeletal structure's there. We've got some other producers coming on, and now I can really have the best of both worlds. I created this thing, and now I get to kind of insert myself into it and be the performer that I want to be. That makes sense.
No, it absolutely does. Yeah. And then that's kind of what I was thinking too, is that it did seem like the timing's lining up fairly well. Holy, is
that rain?
It's pissing outside.
Wow. Where did that go? I thought it was going to be nice today. Wrong.
Yeah. That's...
Buffalo.
It is what it is. Yeah. So how often do you make it back to Buffalo?
A couple times a year.
Yeah.
Probably more often now because we are on this next tour making a documentary out of it.
Oh, that's cool.
And the guy, do you know Harry Lipschitz? Lipschitz.
I think I need to know him because of his name.
His family's lawyers in town. Lipschitz and Lipschitz.
Yeah.
Lipsitz. Maybe it's Lipschitz.
Yeah, it's either you need to change that name or really hang your head.
Yeah, no,
on
he
it.
really his Instagram was like Lipsch or something like that. He really went into it. He's just leaning into it.
Yeah.
But he's a producer fella, and we're shooting a documentary, and it's of this tour, and there's Sarah Rose Marie is a ukulele player who lives in New Orleans, but she's from Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
Megan DePonso is a comic who lives in Denver, but is from Buffalo. I'm from Buffalo. The crew is all coming from Buffalo.
Cool.
So we're having this cool project that is definitely going to be a Buffalo production that I'm excited about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to have, with all the filming that's happening here, to have something coming out of here that's kind of really Buffalo-centric, and it's going to be the Loose in the Bible Belt documentary.
Now, I've seen kind of mixed emotions and feedback about, like, the film industry in Buffalo. Mm-hmm. They took a crack at it. They had a guy, I don't know how much, you followed, the previous film commissioner. He kind of tried to do something similar that they did, down in North Carolina with, like, the boom of just, shooting.
Tax breaks and that kind of stuff.
And then, like, I don't think they gave him much of a leash. They just, and he left, and now they have a new guy, and it seems like he's actually getting some stuff done. I don't know how much you're involved in.
I don't know much of anything, to be honest. I really in kind of what we were talking about before. I took on the live show production part of it, and for this, I was just like, is there somebody who wants to do this? And Harry was like, I absolutely have been looking for a documentary, and, like, I will produce this. And I was like, great, cool. Because I don't know film.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of working with people who know what they're doing, and then I don't have to learn that, right? Like, It's the only way I'm like George W. Bush, right? He's like, I'm the decider. That's how I feel. I'm like, you guys know what you're doing? Great. Just ask me a question. I'll say yes or no. I'm going to trust what you say and your advice.
Make up a few words here and there.
Yeah, make up a few. But just like, I think we... And I think that that's part of trusting each other, right? Mm-hmm. Is like, just like, oh, you're a film guy? We're making a film? Don't ask me. You're the film guy. And I trust you, and I chose you because I trust you, right? So even in this setup, like, I don't know what I want. Don't ask me, guys. You guys tell me what looks good, and I'll plug myself in. And,
Well, yeah, and we've been approached by an attorney, formerly an attorney, who is he wants to make a documentary about regional depression.
Interesting.
Yeah, and he's already made a documentary about depression within the legal field.
Yeah.
And then I never really thought of it, but what a better place than Buffalo to talk about regional depression.
And it is so real. Like, honestly, it took me moving away to really see it, and it's real, and it might just be vitamin D deficiency.
Sure.
Like, it honestly might be as simple as, like, we just need to pop a little bit of vitamin D for February, March, and April, and have that be that, because there is something about Buffalo that, like, we will second guess ourselves till no end, right? And, like, we will support our own if they make it onto, like, America's Got Talent.
Right.
But we won't buy a ticket if that same person is down the road at a show, right? And it's this need for approval from everybody else, I guess. I don't know what it is, but there's definitely something in it that I've noticed and has made me take more vitamin D.
Well, there it is. I did have a friend he was hospitalized, and here we go. We're trying to do a funny podcast here, and I'm talking about.
Oh, were you supposed to be funny? Sorry, I went right into Jesus.
So Jesus can be funny.
He can. I mean, he was a charismatic fella.
Yeah. He's abs for days.
He's ripped.
Super. Yeah. But he was in the hospital a lot, and his doctor prescribed him one of those lamps. A vitamin like D lamp kind of thing, and it's like, all right, cool. But yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily. I mean, we were just talking about it's raining like crazy outside right now, and but I wouldn't mind Buffalo being a little bit more fall and spring. We seem like we've turned into
summer, winter.
We've got 2 seasons now.
Yeah.
But
if climate change was real. Sorry.
Why stop there?
Right.
Well, before we wrap up, is there anything else that you've got cooking right now? Any shows that you want to talk about, or any other projects?
Let's see. I am working on a Christmas project right now, and her name is Sandy Claus.
Sandy Claus.
Sandy Claus is Santa's older, gayer, drunker sister. And it's a one-woman show that I'm writing.
That's really
I mean,
cool.
no one's really examined the Claus family.
No.
And so Sandy's story is, there's some videos online. Her first expose, that someone did a little sit down with her, and her whole thing has been she's got a little chip on her shoulder 'cause she got passed over for the gig. Like, she's the oldest Claus,
Yeah.
but was a lady. And I don't know if you know what times were like a couple hundred years ago, but it wasn't good for women. So
Yeah.
Sandy got passed over. So she kind of made up her own position in the family, and she goes behind Santa, and she swaps out toys for the gender non-conforming kids, right? Because Santa's kind of a bigot. Not a lot of people know that about him, but he's an old white guy who lives a pretty isolated life, right?
Yeah,
Like, he doesn't
yeah.
really interact with others except like once a year.
Yeah.
And
Eats
so
too many cookies. And,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So as soon as cable news got to the North Pole, like, it's been a downfall for Santa.
I
But
can see that. Yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of the next after the tour. I've got those shows in P-Town for Christmas time, and I'm very excited about Sandy Claus and her coming out of the closet.
The closet. Oh, I see what you did there.
I didn't. Can I tell you that David said that at Neon yesterday? Like, I would stop by just to say hi, and he's like, "Is she gonna come out of the closet?" And I was like, "How did I not? How did that never? I've been doing Sandy for 2 years, and it's never occurred to me."
Yeah.
Thank you. So yes.
So how? It's gonna be like a one person.
It's going to be a two-person. Basically, it's like a
Okay.
Dateline. Like, they've just discovered this other Claus member,
Right.
and like, how did we not know? And tell us all about the family. So
Right.
it's going to be one of those like live. It's going to be very similar to this.
Okay.
Only
Cool.
with maybe a screen and maybe some flashbacks to me and Santa as a kid and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
That's
Like,
pretty
behind
cool.
the music kind
Yeah.
of thing. Because like, queers have been going to see the Santaland Diaries for Christmas for like 30 years. Like, there hasn't been a new.
Yeah, a new
A new
take,
Christmas thing. So I'm going to try to Mariah Carey myself into retirement
I
and
like
nail
it.
a Christmas show, right?
I wish I had more puns like lined up right now because normally I'm pretty good at that, but
It'll come.
yeah.
It'll happen.
And I'll call you after.
Thank you. Please.
know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And
Just
I'll-
keep a running list.
yeah. We'll have it on the wall. We have a chalkboard in the other room. We'll just keep
Yeah,
keep
just
writing
write them down and then send them
yeah,
to me.
yeah, we'll send them over.
Sweet.
And so I would really like to catch up with you and see how that's going. Maybe we can do this again in a few months.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And if somebody wants to book you, how do they get a hold of you?
KristenBecker.com, Neon Entertainment. That's the way to do it. Yeah, Neon handles all the college stuff, and then all the other stuff goes right to me, and I send it to my booker. If I want to do it, I want to do it.
Yeah,
I always
you
want to do
wanna
it.
do it.
I always want to do it. Yeah. I never say no.
No.
I'm sure thing over here.
Very cool. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you. This
appreciate
is
it.
great. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Neon Entertainment Spotlight.